In Australia, working full-time is no longer enough to buy a home, and the numbers prove it. It's a frustrating reality for millions. You do everything right. You get a good education, land a stable job, you save diligently. But that dream of owning your own place, it feels further away than ever. Australia is one of the richest countries in the world, a place people from all over dream of moving to. So why can't so many of its own citizens, and the new immigrants who help build it, afford a decent home? It's a question that keeps a lot of us up at night. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on Australia's housing crisis. We'll look at the data, but more importantly, we'll look at the human story behind it. Who is actually winning in this system? Because it sure doesn't feel like it's the average person. Let's start with some shocking context. The median house price in Sydney is now over $1.3 million. In Melbourne, it's hovering around $1 million. Think about that. The average full-time annual salary in Australia is about $98,000. So, even if you saved every single penny you earned, forgetting about tax, food, or rent, it would still take you over 13 years to save up for a house in Sydney. That's just for the principal amount, not including interest or the massive deposit you need to even get a loan. 30 years ago, back in the early 90s, the average house price was about 3 to 4 times the average income. Today, that ratio has exploded to over 12 times in our major cities. This isn't just a hurdle. For many, it's an insurmountable wall. You might be thinking, is it this bad everywhere? Let's compare. In the United States, despite their own housing affordability issues, the national median house price is about 6 times the median household income. In Canada, another country with hot property markets like Vancouver and Toronto, the national average is around 9 times income. Australia is genuinely in a league of its own when it comes to how disconnected house prices are from wages. This isn't a global trend we're just caught up in. It's a uniquely Australian problem, supercharged by decades of specific policies. So, who is this system hurting the most? First and foremost, young people. An entire generation is being locked out of a milestone their parents and grandparents took for granted. The dream of a backyard for the kids, of painting a wall, whatever color you want, of having stability and a place to call your own, is becoming a fantasy. This creates a deep sense of social frustration. It feels like the ladder has been pulled up. No matter how hard you work, the goalposts just keep moving further away. This isn't just about money, it's about hope. When a whole generation feels like the system is rigged against them, it erodes social cohesion and trust in our institutions. Then there are young families. They are often forced to choose between living in cramped apartments or moving hours away from their jobs and support networks in the city, leading to grueling commutes and less time spent with their kids. This has a real impact on quality of life and family well-being. And let's not forget immigrants. People move to Australia for a better life, bringing skills and a drive to contribute. But they arrive to find that one of the core pillars of that better life, a secure home, is almost impossible to achieve. They end up trapped in the rental cycle, often paying off someone else's mortgage with a huge chunk of their income, with no path to building their own wealth. So, if everyday working people aren't benefiting, who is? The answer is pretty straightforward. Those who already own property, specifically those who own multiple properties. The Australian housing market has become less about shelter and more about a speculative investment asset. Think about it. When prices go up, anyone who bought a home years ago sees their net worth on paper skyrocket. They feel richer. They might even borrow against that newfound equity to buy another investment property, further pushing up prices. This creates a feedback loop. Rising prices benefit existing owners, who then have more power to buy more property, which in turn drives prices even higher. And a huge part of this story is government policy. For decades, Australian governments of all stripes have actively encouraged property investment through generous tax concessions. The two big ones are negative gearing and the capital gains tax discount. Negative gearing allows investors to write off any losses on their investment property, like mortgage interest or maintenance costs, against their other income, like their salary. So, if your rental income doesn't cover your costs, the taxpayer essentially subsidizes your loss. Then, when you eventually sell the property for a profit, the capital gains tax discount means you only pay tax on half of that profit. These policies are rocket fuel for the property market. They make it incredibly attractive for high-income earners to speculate on housing. It creates a tilted playing field where an investor can often outbid a first-home buyer because the investor has the tax office helping them foot the bill. These policies were designed to encourage the supply of rental properties, but their main effect has been to inflate a massive price bubble and concentrate wealth in the hands of those who already have it. The very people who need a home to live in are competing against investors who see that same home as a financial product. And who else benefits? The banks, of course. The bigger the loans, the more profit they make. The Australian banking sector is one of the most profitable in the world, largely thanks to the sheer size of the mortgages they write. Every time a house sells for a record price, the banks are cheering. They have a vested interest in seeing prices continue to climb, or at the very least, not fall significantly. And because housing is so central to our economy, the government and the Reserve Bank are also terrified of a market crash, which leads them to make decisions that keep the whole system propped up. So, We have a system where existing property owners, investors, and banks all win from high house prices. The losers are renters, first-home buyers, young people, and families basically, the future of the country. This isn't just an economic problem. It's a profound social problem. It's creating a generational divide. It's widening the gap between the haves and the have. The economy doesn't grow in a healthy way when all the capital is being funneled into unproductive assets like existing housing instead of into new businesses, innovation, and jobs. We're not building a stronger, more dynamic economy. We're just making a small group of people richer by trading the same houses back and forth at ever higher prices. What can be done? The solutions are complex and politically difficult, but they're not impossible. It starts with reframing the conversation. A house should be a home first, and an investment second. We need to reform the tax system to level the playing field between investors and first-home buyers. We need a massive public and social housing building program to increase supply and provide a safety net for those who are priced out. We need to look at zoning laws to allow for more medium-density housing in our cities so people can live near where they work. This isn't about crashing the market or punishing people who've worked hard to buy a home. It's about creating a fairer, more balanced system where a decent, secure home is accessible to everyone who works for it, not just the lucky few who got in early or have the bank of mom and dad to back them. It's about building a future where your hard work actually translates into a better life. The Australian dream of home ownership shouldn't be a museum piece. It's time we fought to make it a reality again for everyone. What are your thoughts on this? Have you been impacted by the housing crisis? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video insightful, please give it a like and subscribe for more content that breaks down the big issues affecting our lives. Thanks for watching.